So this video is about Suzanne Morphew, Chaffee County Sheriff. Reminded us there was a tip line and issued a press release on November 10th that said, "Today marks the 6-month anniversary of Suzanne Morphew missing person case. She's a loving mother, devoted friend, and wife, last seen by husband Barry Morphew on May 10th. They thank you, our community, for your assistance, concern, and patience. In one aspect of the case, they continue to focus on her social media presence as part of the investigation. Investigators say Suzanne kept in touch with friends she loved dearly. They also believe that sometimes in these types of cases, people don't come forward with information for concern they may get someone in trouble. To those who may be fearful to come forward, they can reach out anonymously. Once investigators know your concerns, they can address them. Anyone who may have engaged with Suzanne on Facebook, Instagram, Voxer, and would like to share new information or come forward, if they haven't been interviewed and asked to contact the Suzanne Morphew tip line, regardless of how insignificant you think the information may be, or whether you think investigators are already aware of it. Here's the tip line once again. And here's a brief little timeline. On Saturday, May 9th, Suzanne was online between 2 and 10 p.m. She was chatting with her best friend about an upcoming wedding. It has been reported that suddenly all communication just stopped, and Suzanne's best friend never spoke to her again. Shortly after, a number of people received messages from Suzanne's Facebook profile. Immediate family and friends found this to be out of character. On Sunday, May 10th, Mother's Day, Barry allegedly left the house at 5 a.m. to go do a job in Broomfield near Denver. He stated he didn't wake her when he left, and he went to Broomfield to get the job ready for his crew on Monday. Checked in at the Holiday Inn Express in Broomfield. On Mother's Day, Suzanne Morphew allegedly went for a solo bike ride less than a mile away from her home. She completely vanished. Barry allegedly texted a Mother's Day greeting to his wife, and she didn't respond. And their daughters could not contact her either, so they got a hold of him and said that Suzanne wasn't responding. And Barry allegedly contacted their neighbor and asked her to check on Suzanne. The neighbor reportedly said she walked through the house but couldn't locate Suzanne. The neighbor allegedly stated Suzanne's car was there. Okay, question: how did the neighbor gain access to the house? And why would Suzanne leave the house unlocked? So Barry allegedly asked the neighbor to go back to the house again to see if Suzanne's bike was there. So Barry thought she might have taken a bike ride, and so the neighbor went to check, and then she said the bike was gone. But if Suzanne was a bike rider, she would probably have more than one bike, and I noticed a couple of them in his driveway when they were searching the house. I'm wondering whose bikes these are. So Suzanne's neighbor contacted the sheriff and asked them to do a welfare check. Man, why didn't he call himself? He was just at a hotel. So investigators began searching the house immediately, and they took over the whole house And I think they weren't allowed back in for about 10 days. And the sheriff said that it wasn't unusual for them to do this in this type of situation. During this time, Barry was described as pacing around and looking out windows. Suzanne's brother Andy said, "From what I understand, secondhand, the house reeked kind of bleach." They also questioned Andy and asked him why there were no coolers in the house, and he said he had no idea. But he assumed that as a hunter and a guy that goes camping, maybe Barry might have one. And here's a overhead shot on the news, and you can see Barry's bobcat in the yard. There's his trailer. His trailer's full of dirt, kind of. So this is Mary Branson. She lives near the riverfront construction site that Barry laid dirt at, or as the alleged Not a Mistress calls it, the beach site. In the middle of the night on May 9th, Mary heard a lot of noise. She said she shot out of bed, and at first she thought it was a truck or something, and then she thought maybe somebody parked in her driveway. Whatever it was, it kept running, and it sounded like construction equipment or machinery coming from the job site that Barry was working at. So the noise lasted about a half an hour, and she sat up in bed and said, "What's going on at this time of night?" The following day, she went over to the site to ask the guys if they left their keys there, and they said yes, but they were well hidden. Only they knew where they were. On May 21st, law enforcement began a 3-day search of the site, and Mary told them what she had heard. So Suzanne's friend said neighbors up there are pretty far apart, and the only reason why they found out Suzanne was missing was because her daughters called a neighbor. So I don't know who called the neighbor, if Barry did or the girls did. For the most part, Barry is saying the FBI lies. I've heard the FBI lies in their investigations, and I know they can do that. It just pains me to know that they're doing this to me and my family. This is the most devastating thing that has ever happened to me. But I have got to keep my faith and trust in God. And Suzanne trusted the Lord. And if one person gets saved by this, she would think it was worth it. Why would he say that? What does that mean? He talks about her in past tense. We are just a godly, loving, caring family, and this thing is a tragedy. Then he says people don't know the truth, so they're going to think what they're going to think. The sheriff's department screwed this whole thing up from the beginning. Now they're trying to cover it up and blame me. So I'm sure you all remember when Andy Moorman conducted like an army type search for Suzanne Here's what the Chaffee County Sheriff said. There was no evidence. The September 29th press release, with the private search by Andy Moorman concluded on September 29th, Suzanne Morphew Missing Person Investigative Task Force provides a recap of the search for Suzanne over the last several days, and since she went missing on May 10th, 2020. As reported previously, law enforcement team responded to collect several pieces of evidence found by searchers across the county, and will continue to follow up to determine if there's any connection to Suzanne's disappearance. Also this week, members of law enforcement task force responded to the report of human remains on trained dogs alerting on 3 separate properties in Chaffee County. To clarify, none of these properties are owned by members of the Morphew family. One of the locations investigated was along the Arkansas River. The dog handler on that property was interviewed by our team and explained dogs did not alert to anything on the property but did show an interest. Our law enforcement team obtained consent from the property owner, and after further investigation, including working with the private human remains dogs on the property, it was determined this was not a viable lead in this case. A second property near the Morphew home was also investigated after the same dog team alerted to an area on that private property. Our team immediately, upon being notified, secured the scene, provided around-the-clock security until investigators could arrive. The location of interest on the private property with the consent of the property owner was extensively investigated and found to have no evidentiary significance to the case. And a third location was found in unincorporated Chaffee County, where a different pair of human remains dogs alerted. Our team responded and immediately secured the scene. This morning, our team, along with FBI, CBI, and consent of the property owner, excavated the location. Once again, there was nothing of value to Suzanne Morphew's case, and they remain dedicated to determine what happened to Suzanne. Sheriff John Spezzi said, "The level of commitment from our entire team, from the Chaffee County Sheriff's Office, CBI, and FBI, is unprecedented and unparalleled. While the public may not see all of the effort being put forth in this case, I can assure the community that this investigation continues to move forward. Chaffee County Sheriff is dedicated to assigning financial and staffing as leads continue to be extensively followed up on by investigators. They're committed to finding Suzanne, and our hearts go out to her family and friends." So, when I do some research, one important aspect of his job is public safety of the county and meet the expectations of residents and visitors as well. The sheriff has the responsibility to ensure decisions are made to protect the county from scrutiny and liability. They asked him what his policy was on releasing information to the public, and he said he only releases stuff that's legal to release and doesn't jeopardize open investigations. Overall public safety is the responsibility of the sheriff. I was elected as Chaffee County Sheriff in 2014 and have served as your sheriff, and there have been no remains found in the Suzanne Morphew case. Volunteer search has created a few potential leads, but nothing has been identified relating to Suzanne's disappearance. No new evidence. So that was disappointing. So less than 5 months after she went missing, Barry Morphew listed their house for sale, which was kind of like a big what? Suzanne and Barry had purchased this house in April of 2018, and her husband had several theories about Suzanne's disappearance. He said there was a mountain lion attack, a bike accident, a stranger abduction, an acquaintance abduction. Suzanne's brother Andy put together an army of searchers and they searched 6,000 linear miles. Unfortunately, Suzanne still has not been found. Barry did not join the search. Barry did obtain legal guardianship, and it's been reported that he contacted Suzanne's father way back when and allegedly said, "I loved, past tense, your daughter. Now sign these papers." I don't know how true that is. Allegedly, Suzanne's dad, Gene Moorman, refused. Barry has vehemently denied any involvement in Suzanne's disappearance. He spoke to CBS about Suzanne's disappearance on May 10th. He sat down with Jamie Leary inside of his home. And he did not want to be on camera. Barry talked about his decision to sell the home. One reason is extensive media coverage about the case. Morphew said he's been recorded against his will and has strangers wandering onto his property. Barry believes Suzanne was abducted, and his 2 daughters are terrified to return to the house, which is totally understandable. So they've been renting nearby for a few weeks. Suzanne's brother Andy just concluded his search for his sister in Colorado. Over 700 volunteers searched for Suzanne. Barry was a no-show during the 6-day search. On day 1, searchers were confronted by Barry. He was hanging trail cameras with a rifle on his shoulder. And he reminded his brother-in-law that they were not welcome on his private property. But on day 4, he allowed cadaver dogs onto his property to search. He was asked why he didn't join the search. He says it's because he and his friends have been doing the same thing for months. He doesn't believe Suzanne is in the area anymore. Barry claims he reached out to his brother-in-law repeatedly, and he claimed Andy didn't reach out to him about the search. Barry questioned his brother-in-law's motives, said he spent many nights with Suzanne crying on his shoulder, asking why her siblings refused to show her love. Barry broke down as he talked about all they had been through and the love they shared together. Why does Barry always refer to Suzanne in the past tense? Barry shared a note Suzanne allegedly gave him on Valentine's Day. It said, "Just want you to know my life would be nothing without your love and the excitement you bring to our marriage and my life. Remember all the beautiful and difficult we had, so many." Shouldn't it say we have so many? "Through each one I know our love has grown stronger. You are my love forever." Barry said he hopes Suzanne is still alive. Claims he has sat through countless days of interrogations. He says to help the investigation, he opened his home and property to investigators as well as cell phone records and computers. I mean, wasn't that because the police had a warrant? A sealed warrant? I don't know. How come Barry hasn't taken a polygraph yet? Or a voice analysis? You would think he would want to do that. So Barry is selling their house for $1.7 million. Barry allegedly told Lauren Scharf of Fox 21 he was driving back from Broomfield which makes no sense. Why'd he get a hotel? When he found out Suzanne was missing. Fox reported Barry had stopped at Poncha Market on May 12th. The store manager said Barry knocked on the window and wrote down a description of maybe what Suzanne was wearing. I just thought it was weird because he didn't explain the color of her hair, color of her eyes, or anything about her, like how tall she was or anything. She gave Barry a receipt, and he wrote this on the back. Baby blue bike helmet, biking clothing. He was seen digging through the trash. Allegedly, the young clerk that worked there went outside to see what he was doing, and Barry said, "Hey, I'm looking for a baby blue bicycle helmet. Have you seen a baby blue bicycle helmet in the trash?" According to the I'm Not a Mistress former employee Morgan, she heard Barry's truck outside her apartment at 4 a.m. Allegedly, she said she didn't need to look because I know it's him. He didn't wait and called her from the road. She said there was no job in Broomfield. There were no tools in Broomfield. And there was no Bobcat in Broomfield. Allegedly, she and her co-worker Puckett never saw Barry in Broomfield at all. He allegedly left the house on Mother's Day at 5 a.m. He said he didn't wake Suzanne. And he was supposed to be going to prepare a job site for a retaining wall. So he checked into the Howard Johnson Hotel in Broomfield. According to the press release by Chaffee County Sheriff, Suzanne was reported missing on Sunday, May 10th at 5:46 p.m. Allegedly, he found out she was missing on the drive home. On May 12th, he was seen dumpster diving at that market at around 8 p.m., specifically looking for the helmet. I mean, why did he go looking for this helmet at dark? And finally, there's a man, AK, on YouTube. He said, "You know what they're saying?" He talked to Barry Morphew. "They're saying at 4, Morgan heard your truck outside her house." Barry said, "That's not true. That never happened." AK said, "Then you texted her at 4 in the morning to get a crew together." Barry said, "No, I did not. If that was the case, the FBI would have it. They have my phone." Barry says Morgan is a mess, though. They're all on meth. They were so angry when I wouldn't let them keep working. I said, I can't. I mean, she lost her apartment. She lost her kid. She lost everything. She just got angry and started flipping out at me and bad-mouthing me. I wouldn't talk to her again because they were accusing me of having an affair with her. I said, I'm not going to talk to her again. If you want to put the truth out there, you're more than welcome. Lauren Scharf with Fox recently published an item about Broomfield, about the retaining wall job. It was originally going to go to Garrett Construction. They subcontracted to EA Outdoor Services, who subcontracted him. Both companies are based in Indiana. They allegedly hired Barry to do the job as an independent contractor. President Tony Miller of EA Outdoor Services is allegedly a longtime friend of Barry Morphew. Lauren Scharf says none of the public documents pertaining to the Broomfield job mentions Barry Morphew at all. An anonymous worker for EA Outdoor Services said, The original retaining wall job took place October 2019. The work was poorly done, so they called Barry back in to do this job. Morphew and his subcontractors were scheduled to return on Monday, and the anonymous EA Outdoor Services worker said that he expressed doubts about Morphew's alibi, said they knew nothing about Barry Morphew until after Suzanne Morphew went missing. About working on Sunday, Mother's Day, the guy said the work was not considered urgent, did not believe Barry did the work on the wall that Sunday.